Hey, so you know how I am a big physical media collector? Well, back in the day when I was a kid, same deal. I've always been a collector. And so today I have a bunch of PS2 games to go through because, I don't know, let's get nostalgic. I just kind of want to talk about some games I'm fond of. Now, before I start, I will say that I used to have a ton more. I used to have heaps more. But my mum made me get rid of them because I kept them at her house. And so it was kind of my fault, but I didn't really have space, so I was keeping them at her house, and I had to get rid of a bunch. I just kept all the ones that I really loved. So these are the ones that are really special to me. I'm pretty sad that I don't have some of the others that I used to have, mainly because I don't even remember what they were. But yeah, let's get to talking about some PS2 games. Maybe you'll be into that. So first up is this awesome one called The Matrix Path of Neo. If you have not played this, I mean, if you can somehow find a way to play it, do so. At the moment, speaking of, I can't really play these. I have my PS2 here, but I don't think I haven't tried yet, but I don't think it works with my TV. I'm sure there's a workaround. I'm sure there's a way you can do it. But right now, I'm not playing them. I just brought them recently from my parents' house because I have room now, kind of, to store them. Anyway, Matrix Path of Neo is this kind of weird game that follows the movies, like the trilogy of the Matrix movies, but it also really goes off the rails. There's this part where you're fighting like, I think it's like giant ants or something at one point, and then the final battle is like, I don't know, maybe not to spoil anything or whatever, but you know how like in The Matrix, what was it called? Revolutions, the third one, the movie that no one really likes. Neo fights, like he has a big climactic fight with Smith, whatever his name is, Mr. Smith, in the rain, and it's just like this one-on-one brutal fight between them, and there's some slow motion punches and stuff, but apart from that, it's pretty bare bones, simple fighting. That's how you speak. Yeah, well, in The Matrix Path of Neo, Mr. Smith instead duplicates himself many times, like in The Matrix Reloaded. But then not only is it just a fight between Neo and a bunch of the clones, but the clones then kind of form into each other and build a giant evil Mr. Smith, like skyscraper tall, I'm talking. And you have to fight that, and you're flying around, and it's so fucking stupid, and it's awesome. But no, legitimately, this game was really cool though. Like a big bunch of it was just following the first movie, and like, yeah, I don't know, it was a cool way to like relive every moment and whatever. But I don't know, it had like really cool fighting and shit. I remember the tutorials went forever, and it was really annoying, but once you got past that part, yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, there were all these really awesome sort of like final moves and stuff you could do all the time, and they really made you feel the impact of like a slow motion punch, and then bam, right on impact, it would kind of go a bit faster, and then you'd watch them go and, you know, fall however far they went in slow motion again and whatever, and it was awesome. Maybe I have nostalgia goggles on. I don't know, maybe this is bad. I'm sure it looks terrible. I'm sure pretty much every game I'm about to go through probably looks terrible now, but yeah, I remember this game being pretty badass. Then next up is this really underrated one, even from back in the day, Mortal Kombat Shaolin mode. This was probably, dare I say, my favorite Mortal Kombat game. Now, if you like Mortal Kombat and you don't know about this game, which I guess would be kind of weird, but I don't know, I guess it would happen. This game wasn't massive. This is not like your standard Mortal Kombat game where you are just in an arena kind of, you know, semi 2D thing. One guy on the left, one guy on the right fight. Not that kind of thing. No, this is like an sort of open world adventure that's kind of like a bird's eye view kind of game. The camera changes all the time. Sometimes it'll go 2D for some platforming levels and stuff. Sometimes you'll be kind of far away from the characters as you're trying to navigate through this kind of weird level. And a lot of the time though, you're just fighting a bunch of goons and you're kind of just taking out a lot of bad guys. Like, it's not like one-on-one fights. It's, you know, typically a group of bad guys that you're fighting at once and stuff. This was also a really good game to play like with co-op, like if you had a friend on the couch and stuff, which is not a thing that really happens anymore. Everything's online now. But I have some really fond memories of playing playing this with some of my friends when I was a kid. It's really good. That game's awesome. And you could even do like fatalities like whenever you wanted. Not whenever you wanted, you needed to have like enough of the power bar up or whatever the fuck. But yeah, also this was really hard, I remember, at least the end. The final battle, I remember you don't have any like, there's some health that you can get or whatever, but like you have to fight like 2 or 3 different bosses like with the same health bar. And I remember being very, very frustrated. But awesome. Honestly, my favorite Mortal Kombat. Then there's Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which is also really good. This game was jam-packed with like side sort of games and stuff. There was this weird fucking racing game that was like just a Mario Kart ripoff. And they all had like the Mortal Kombat characters with big heads and stuff, and you could attack each other and whatever. I don't know. It was just kind of fun. This one is more of a standard Mortal Kombat game where you're in an arena and just, you know, you have 2 rounds or 3 rounds or whatever of fighting. But this had a bunch of other stuff too. You could like create your character and stuff. And I remember that being like pretty damn in-depth, especially for the time that this came out. Like you could do movesets, you could change what the person looked like entirely. Very customizable, really cool. Lots of cool mini games. There was even there was chess on this and Tetris for some reason. They had a bunch of mini games. They went all out on mini games in this for some reason. But I remember liking them enough, I guess. But, you know, mainly it was for the combat. And that was badass too. I remember you could kind of like traverse around the arena. It wasn't just going flat, like left or right. You could kind of like strafe. And then you could like punch people into, I don't know, there'd be like a spike board or whatever the fuck they're called coming off of the wall or whatever. You can like kick him into that and they'd get stabbed and whatever, and there'd like be an animation and then they'd get off and you'd continue fighting. Like, this was a cool ass game. Then just, you know, in the same vein as Mortal Kombat, there's Tekken 5, the only one I'd ever played. I don't know, it's fine. I wasn't really a massive fan of that one. Then there's another arena kind of fighting one, X-Men Dimensions, Next Dimension, sorry. Yeah, just kind of your basic Mortal Kombat ripoff, to be honest, but it was X-Men, so it was cool, you know. Then there was the Hulk game based on the 2003 version. Now, it wasn't super close to the film, if I'm remembering correctly. A bunch of it was just like, you could smash a lot of the environment and stuff. You could kind of like, it was really cool how like just the movement of the Hulk, you know, jumping around and running around and stuff. It was pretty linear, but like it was like cool to kind of have free reign as the Hulk. But I remember actually weirdly really liking the levels where you played as Bruce Banner, and you're just like, they were like stealth levels, and if you got caught, you failed. It was kind of like the Miles Morales levels in the PS4 Spider-Man game, and how everyone hates that. Maybe everyone felt the same way about that with this game, but I remember liking him when I was a kid. I don't know, maybe I was a weird kid. And then probably the best PS2 game of all time, and the best one that I'm gonna name or have named, Spider-Man 2, based on the movie Spider-Man 2. This is my childhood in a box. Pretty much, yeah. I have very, very fond memories of just playing this for hours. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Just swinging around and all that stuff. I like the swinging in this game more than I do the PS4 version of this game. And I haven't played the PS5, the new one yet, but rough cut right there. Sorry, my cat was fucking around and bumping into the tripod and bothering me. And so I picked her up and ran down the hallway with her, and she squirmed and tried to get out. And now she is locked away in a room at the moment. I'm sure, look, the door over there can't close properly though. And my other cat, Riley, the big one, he will save them from, he can just push that door open. So I'm sure she'll fucking be back in a second. Also, I got hot, so I took my jacket off. Anyway, not interesting. Yeah, what was I saying? Spider-Man, PS4, PS2, hadn't played the PS5 one. I like the swinging in this more. That's what I was saying. Something about this one really, for me, did a better job of kind of getting the momentum, picking up your speed. In the PS4 one, it feels too slow for me. I also like the controls more. They were a little bit more simple. There wasn't so much to remember. And I remember like you would press whichever trigger it was to kind of shoot the web. And then you'd press the other one to pick up speed, and you'd jump off to maximize your speed. Instead of in the new one where it's kind of, I don't know. I never really got quite the hang of the new one. I really love it. It's really cool. And it's really fun still. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that that's a bad game or does a bad job of anything, swinging or anything or whatever, but I do think that this old one from 2004 or whatever year this came out, I think did a slightly better job, at least in terms of my nostalgic kind of vision. You know what I mean? I have a fonder memory of this one than even the recent ones. And yeah, I don't know, it was just really cool, and it had the Bruce Campbell narration and all that stuff. It was fun, it was meta. This game was like funny, it followed the movie like pretty closely, but then it kind of went off in different things. Like you would meet Black Cat and kind of have levels with her, you'd meet different villains and fight villains that weren't in the movies and stuff, and it was just kind of like your own little world. It was a Grand Theft Auto, but you're Spider-Man instead, and it blew my mind back in the day. I loved it so much. I can't describe how much I love this game. It is my favorite PS2 game by far. It is one of my favorite video games. Why did I say it like that? It's one of my favorite video games of all time. Easy. And I should probably figure out how to get my PS2 working with this TV so I can play it, because fuck yeah. Then next up is this one that I had for some reason. I didn't even like wrestling, but for some reason I had this SmackDown versus Raw game, 2007. I'm pretty sure I had 2008 at some point back in the day as well, but it ain't here, so just 2007 here. I will say, I actually loved this game back in the day anyway. I really liked it. I didn't care about wrestling. I only knew the wrestlers' names because of this game. Like there was that Rey Mysterio guy, John Cena, I only knew from this, to be honest. I didn't know him from wrestling. I didn't give a shit about wrestling. Who else was on the cover here? Batista, right. He was a wrestler. See, some people have just turned on to acting now, and it's weird. Anyway, this had a really cool character customization thing, like Mortal Kombat Armageddon that I just mentioned before. I was a big fan of kind of games that let you do that stuff, and I remember it being pretty in-depth and cool. Also, this had pretty good music on it. I remember thinking that was kind of weird for a wrestling game, but, you know, it had some, like, metal, kind of hard rock stuff or whatever, punk rock, emo-y, pop punk stuff like that. Then I had a bunch of rap and stuff that I always skipped, of course, because like my little brain child me could listen to any form of rap. Not that I'm a massive listener of rap nowadays, but like I was very like, ugh, anything pop, anything rap, anything other than anything that was a variation of rock of some sort. I was like, yucky, get it away from me. And even though pop punk is still my favorite genre, I like to think I've kind of broadened my horizons a little bit. Anyway, but I remember having good music. Then there's Driver 3. Now this is one of the ones that really rivals with Spider-Man 2 for me, because man, this was better, I would argue, than the Grand Theft Auto games. Maybe? I don't know. That's probably not true, because it was kind of glitchy. There were some things that weren't perfect about it. But do you know how much I love Driver 3? But I remember there was this cool mode where you could do kind of like a time trial where you're trying to get as far as you can, go for as long as you can with the cops after you and stuff. There was like a free roam mode, which arguably wasn't the best because there wasn't a lot to do. But the missions in this game are so damn fun. This was like this game is perfect. It was like cinematic. It really felt like an action movie. Like Grand Theft Auto did a great job of having that open world and doing the missions and stuff, but that always felt like a game. This felt like a movie. I don't know why. I'm not quite sure what the difference is. It's just, it would go into these cinematic cutscenes that were obviously pre-rendered and all this stuff, but then it would go into the gameplay and it felt connected. It felt really, I don't know, it felt like you were impacting the story, at least when I was a kid. I guess I got really immersed with this game. There was also a really cool like editing film editor mode, where you could like literally the whole level that you've played was recorded. I don't know how many it kept, but it kept quite a lot. You could literally make a replay of every single level that you play, or the free roam or whatever, and you could choose all the different angles. Like it was a full-on editing suite kind of thing in this game. Like it was like what you saw in Halo 3 a few years later. And, you know, obviously a few more games since then, but not too many. And I miss it. Skate 3, that's another one with a really cool one. Nowadays there's photo mode, and like that's fun and cool, but I would really love like an in-depth kind of like movie making app in games nowadays, because I remember just having so much fun with that, like trying to make my own story within the gameplay, kind of trying to like explain the motivations of why I was doing what I was doing when I was just doing dumb shit in free roam mode and trying to get like interesting angles. You could play around with like slow motion and stuff. And look, the graphics were pretty shit, but like that's still pretty cool that it could handle doing all that. I don't know. I really had a lot of fun with that. Now, the shooting was not the best, but the driving very much made up for that. It was a bit glitchy, like I've said before. It was a bit funny like that, but it was pretty damn impressive, even, you know, especially, I mean, for the day. I don't know. Apparently, a lot of people were pretty disappointed with this one, actually. They thought it was a step down from 1 and 2, but I fucking love it, man. Then there was Driver Parallel Lines. Speaking of a step down, this one's okay, but it really does not touch Driver 3. This one, again, this one does just feel like it's kind of like a copy of Grand Theft Auto. It doesn't feel like it's different enough. It doesn't feel like it really elevates its material enough. But it is in a steelbook slipcover thing, so that's pretty cool. Then there is, this is kind of like a little bonus, the original Driver. This one, what's this on? This one was just on PC. PC! Ooh, old computer games. This game was made by the same people that made the third one. I don't believe it was the same people that made Parallel Lines. You could not get out of your car in this one. It was just driving, and it was insanely difficult to even get past the tutorial of this game. You had to know how to, like, I don't know. I don't even know what you had to do. You had to do weird parking maneuvers. Maneuvers. You had to do weird kind of like, you'd have to do like a 180 turn really quick when you don't have any space and stuff, or you'd have to like, I don't know, reverse backwards and like turn around and park perfectly or something. It would like be really unforgiving. You'd have to be really precise. And I had a lot of trouble just getting past that tutorial. I remember back in the day. Anyway, this was a pretty innovative game at the time because it was, you know, kind of open world in a way. Like you could drive to a lot of different locations and stuff. But mainly the vehicle damage, this was pretty much paralleled. No game was doing it like Driver was back in the day. Driver walked so Grand Theft Auto could run. That's what I believe. Because, you know, it was innovative enough to be in that 3D environment. Like, actually have the in-depth stuff. Like the original Grand Theft Auto and the second, maybe even, I think there were a couple spin-offs as well. They were all like top-down, bird's-eye view entirely, where you were looking down at just a little cartoon car. Some people might not know that. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 is what started that 3D behind the, what's it called? Third person. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 is what started the 3D third person kind of thing that it's gone with still to this day. Then there is Stuntman, another one that rivals with Spider-Man 2 and Driver 3 and made by the same people that made Driver 3 in Reflections was the company that made it. Oh man, this was an acquired taste. This is possibly the hardest game in existence. That's probably not true. I don't know. I haven't really played Dark Souls and stuff. But this is a very unforgiving game. This was so damn hard and so frustrating. You had to be perfect. Like the tutorial in the first Driver, this was a game where you had to do everything perfectly. Basically, if you don't know, the premise is that you are a stuntman in Hollywood. And like the gameplay is where you have to go through very strictly, where there's all these guidelines, flashing things where you have to like overtake this vehicle, smash through these boxes or something. There's a director telling you everything that you have to do. It's like, get close to this explosion, go over this jump or whatever, and land exactly where they want you to. And if you miss, well, that's not going to be good, because if you miss too many things, I think like there's a certain percentage, I don't remember exactly what, but it was a high margin to me. And if you miss enough stunts, that's it. Game over, man. You have to start again. And when you had to start again, that was when the worst part of this game was unveiled frequently. Because every time you lose, you had to watch this loading screen, and man, I don't even know if I'm exaggerating when I say that it was 10 minutes long every time. Oh my god. I have super fond memories of playing this with my family. They are not gamers at all, but this was the one game that we could really connect over. For whatever reason, everybody enjoyed this. My sister, my mum, my dad. Yeah, we had a hell of a time playing this game. But those load screens were so fucking bad. And you know, especially if you're my mum and you're not good at games and you just fail, like, oh my god, just you'd play for 2 seconds and then you'd have to wait another like fucking 10 minutes for it to reset again. But no, this is awesome. Maybe it's part of why I got into film, because this was kind of like a movie lover's game in a way. It had like parodies of movies and stuff. You could watch your gameplay be intersected into these fake movie trailers that they made. It was just cool as hell. This was kind of the prerequisite to Driver 3 because it was I believe, the same engine that they were kind of testing out and stuff. And the car controls and the driving and stuff does feel very similar to Driver 3. But the gameplay and the premise of this one really differentiates it heavily. Oh, I love this game. I love it. Anyway, apparently I love driving games the most because Driven to Destruction, again, another one that rivals with my favorites because fuck yeah. Driven to Destruction is a game that's set in like this derby kind of environment or whatever, where, you know, you do all the kind of different competitions and stuff. You know, you could do races and stuff. You could do what are they called? Crash derbies and stuff. Those things, you know, where they try and destroy each other's cars and stuff. And it was cool as hell. There was also this mode that I really liked that you could play with a second player, where for some reason you verse each other in like a battle where you were driving and you were shooting chickens at each other, explosive chickens. I played an embarrassing amount of the shooting explosion chicken games out of a car game. And it was fun. Another one though, like Smackdown versus Raw that I mentioned before, this had amazing music. Amazing music. This is the game that actually introduced me to what was my favorite band of all time for a good number of years. Sum 41. Sum 41 featured on this one. If I remember correctly, it was the... Oh, what songs was it? The Hell Song? Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was the Hell Song. And... oh, something else. I'm not sure. It was definitely the Hell Song. Anyway, yeah, Sum 41 was on this, and there was a bunch of other good bands and stuff on this as well. Like, yeah, I remember this having really kick-ass music. It introduced me to a lot of bands that I went on to later download all of their songs on LimeWire. Thanks to this game. Thanks to that game, I'm sure my computer at the time got a lot of viruses. Then next up, just because it's driving, it's sort of relevant, Crazy Taxi. It's kind of cool. You're a taxi driver. Strict timeline. You gotta pick up people and take them where they want to go. You're a taxi driver. Hey, hey, hey! It's Crazy Taxi. That's what they'd say when you would turn the game on. Also, really cool music in this one too. The Offspring was on this, and yeah, introduced me to the Offspring, which I don't really listen to anymore, to be honest, but it was cool. Oh man, this is going much longer than I was expecting it to. That is just very much in theme with me. Anyway, next up, more driving games. There was Burnout Revenge, and this is funny because just now, like recently, I've been going through Burnout Paradise, the remastered version on my Xbox One, which is an awesome game. Which is arguably better than this one because it's like an open world and stuff. Anyway, this one, not an open world. You had to choose each levels and stuff, but it was fucking badass what you could do with kind of like damaging all the other cars and stuff, the animation and stuff that would have gone into this. It's something that you don't see in a lot of car games, which always bothers me. Like in a lot of racing games, you'll crash into a tree or something and like you kind of just like bump into it and bump back. And maybe there's a bit of damage, but because they're all based on real cars and stuff, there's often just pretty much nothing because all of the car companies don't want to show that their cars can be crushed. And they get super weird about that. So I'm assuming this, they don't want to show that their cars can have people killed in them when they crash, which, if you ask me, is dumb because it's a car. It's just a bit dumb. Anyway, but this one, no problem with that. As soon as you crash into anything, you're fucked. Like, this one, if anything, this one shows you the dangers of driving like an idiot on the road because there's no way in hell you're surviving a lot of the things that happen in this game. Anyway, there were also like these really cool modes where you like, and these were in the earlier games as well, but there was like a mode where you would kind of try and make as much destruction as possible. The entire run would be like, you would drive for like 5 seconds, go off a jump, and then try and hit every single car that you can, and you kind of like, every car was exploding and stuff, and it was like a versus game where you had to try and get as much points as possible. Whoever got as much, like, killed as many people and destroyed as many cars and shit in the one run got, you know, the most points in one. And it was cool as hell. There were heaps of kind of little game modes, mini games and stuff like that in this. But, you know, it was mostly meant to be about the racing, but yeah, I think I played that mode a lot more, actually. I remember number 3 being better, though. And I don't have number 3. I had to play number 3 at a friend's of mine. I don't know why, because I had heaps of games. Like, I feel like my parents probably would have got it. They got other games for me. Anyway, then there is V8 Supercars. Supercar Race Driver is the official title. I didn't play a lot of this game, except I did play it for a long time. Okay, let me explain. So I barely played any of the maps, but there was this one, Bathurst, which is like the most famous V8 Supercar track in... Where is it? Queensland or New South Wales or something? I know. I know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, I played that same track over and over and over and over. This was one game that I really connected with my dad over. Like, he's super into this, or used to be anyway. Maybe still is. I don't know. Hi, Dad. But yeah, we used to play this a hell of a lot. And then we went there in real life to the Bathurst track one time. And we drove through it. It was pouring rain. It wasn't the best example of what the track would have looked like in real life compared to the game. But it was still pretty cool. And I was like, going in my brain like, oh my god, I know this turn. I know this turn. This is from that game that I play. How cool. Anyway, not into real sports, but I am into video game sports. Then, more driving games. The Simpsons Road Rage, which is a complete rip-off of Crazy Taxi, but it had the Simpsons in it. And it was cool. But this is really what we want to get at when it comes to Simpsons video games. The Simpsons Hit and Run, which was also a rip-off of something. Grand Theft Auto. This was basically exactly Grand Theft Auto set in Springfield, man. And damn, it was good. Again, this is one of my absolute favorites. You could play as all of the characters at different times and stuff. I remember there was a part where everything set out in like as Halloween, and it was like a Treehouse of Horror episode. That was cool as hell, and it was so cool. It was just really cool to traverse around Springfield and stuff, and kind of, there were a lot of funny Easter eggs and stuff. This was a really funny game from what I remember, and there was heaps to do. Like, it was a pretty long game from what I remember. You had all these collectibles and stuff you could get and everything. Yeah, man. This was Grand Theft Auto, but in the Simpsons world, and what could possibly be better for me? This game is made for me. And then there is, speaking of Grand Theft Auto 3, which, you know, I have some fond memories of. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which I also have some fond memories of, but, you know, I wasn't super familiar with the era. Everyone says that this game has the best music, but it's just not really the music I care about very much. And then, though, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which is probably the best Grand Theft Auto, maybe? Nah, I think I actually like 4 more. But I have that on Xbox 360. Was that even on PS2? I don't know. That came out in 2008. Probably not. But still, yeah. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was like such a big game. There was so much to do. There was a bit of character customization with the clothes and stuff. You could control how fat or muscly CJ was. There was all these kind of different side activities and stuff. The missions were great. The story was actually really good. Now, when it comes to video game stories, especially when I was a kid and now, why am I saying especially? Both. I'm not often somebody who pays attention to the story. How blasphemous, I know. But it's true. I'm kind of I used to be a listen to music and play games kind of guy. Now I'm a listen to podcasts and play games kind of guy. And so often I don't listen to the story. There are exceptions, like when it comes to games like The Last of Us and stuff. Games that are really heavily focused on the narrative, that are really good and stuff, I will definitely pay attention to. But, you know, when it comes to a lot of other games, this is like, I don't know. The Simpsons Hit and Run, I would have listened to the music. Spider-Man, I would have listened to the music. But, I don't know, like with some of the Mortal Kombat ones and stuff like that, I was probably listening to music. Anyway, yeah, San Andreas is definitely one of the ones where I was listening to the story, because it was actually pretty damn good from what I remember. Then there is the original, and there's a sticker covering the title, which bothers me, but Red Dead Revolver. Yeah, if you don't know, there was a preceding game before Red Dead Redemption and then Red Dead Redemption 2, and it was called Red Dead Revolver. And it was about this guy named Red, and he was a cowboy. What a surprise. This was not an open world game. This was not like Grand Theft Auto, but just set in a Western. This was a very linear game for Rockstar especially, but it was badass. It was very arcadey, which is maybe surprising for a Rockstar game. But yeah, I actually really like this one, and I kind of like it more than the Red Dead Redemption games. I know, they're not as impressive, especially of the Red Dead Redemption 2. Graphically, it does not hold up, and all that kind of stuff, but I just remember this one being just like this really fun game that you can just kind of go through, just shooting a bunch of dudes and stuff. Like, I'm not a super patient gamer, and I didn't finish Red Dead Redemption 2. I did finish Red Dead Redemption 1, but Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm like, I don't want to have to clean my gun or whatever. I don't want to cut my hair and shit. I don't care about doing all those little details. I don't want to look after the stupid horse and whatever you have to do. I don't want to forage for things and hunt things and stuff. I don't care. I just want to shoot dudes, man. Which is you've probably lost all your respect for me now that I've said that, but it's true. It's true. Don't worry. I highly respect movies, and I will watch a ton of movies and pay attention to the story. Obviously, how else are you going to watch a movie? But I'm just saying, games are a different medium, and I don't know. I just play them for fun more so than I do every little detail. You know what I mean? Then, just similar to Grand Theft Auto, there is The Getaway Black Monday. This was a sequel to a game called The Getaway, and I don't know where that is. I swear I had that, and I don't think I would have thrown that out, because I loved these games. But anyway, this is a Grand Theft Auto copy as well, but it's set in the UK, and that was just kind of cool to see. Different environment and stuff, you know? And another thing that these games did really weird and another thing that these games did really interestingly was that it didn't have like map markers and stuff. It didn't tell you where to go with an arrow or something. It told you where to go with the indicator of the car that you were driving. If you had to turn left, it would indicate left. And that was just kind of like a cool immersive thing that they tried. It didn't always work because it wasn't super clear about which way you had to go. And sometimes it would like come up and flash right as you're like about to drive past it, so you miss the turn. And sometimes it'll send you in circles and stuff, but most of the time, like, it was kind of just an interesting different way to do it. Yeah, one of the things that I remember about this. Another thing that I remember is that in Superbad, they are playing, I don't know if it's this one or the first one, but they're playing The Getaway, or Michael Cera's character is. And I just always thought that was weird, because who the fuck else played The Getaway? This is not a massively known game. And I remember that, specifically that for some reason.
You know why I have to kill these guys? Because you don't negotiate with terrorists.
Oh, really?
Terrorism.
Because, yeah, that's what we should be talking about right now.
Fuck me. I can't. That's fun. Why do they make that if you can't even win? Then why am I fucking playing?
And then we're going into kind of a bonus round here of games that don't really match in with franchises or theme. Oh, well, this one's a franchise, but the Destroy All Humans games, I had a hell of a time playing with this. Like, it let you really destroy buildings and stuff in a spaceship and everything. You could really wreak havoc in these games. You could read people's minds. You could possess them, I think, or you could like make yourself look like them and stuff. You'd have to like pretend to be a human and stuff, but really all you wanted to do was kill people, and you were free to do so in this game. It was super funny. I remember really liking the main character in, what's his name? Crypt. It doesn't say the name back here, but, oh, wait, maybe it does here. No, it doesn't. So, anyway. Then there is the Worms 4, Mayhem. This was the one of the few games, or maybe the only game, of Worms. There was 3D. It wasn't like your 2D sort of side-on look like all of the other games in this franchise are. This was like a third-person game, but you still took turns in trying to kill each other. Very cartoony, very silly, and strategic. Like, you actually had to think about what you were doing in this game. Like, it wasn't just silly, dumb, do anything you want. It was like, you really had to strategize and stuff. And that was kind of cool. You really had to sort of learn what each weapon did and how they were effective, how effective they were from what distance and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, it was kind of in-depth, and I remember getting really into this at one point in my life. Then there is Hitman Blood Money, which is super fun. I really love the Hitman games because you just fuck with the AI, and they somehow program it perfectly so that they are smart enough to recognize enough things, and like, it's got really smart AI, but they were smart enough to not make the AI too smart. They were smart enough to make the AI smart, but in a dumb way, so that you can trick them and get away with things that would not be possible in real life. Like, it's so dumb what you can get away with in these games. Anyway, this one has the best Hitman level of all time, where you're in the suburbs. I don't remember what it's called, but you're in the suburbs, and you can dress up as a clown, and you can just... I remember I used to just like try and kill everybody secretly, like one by one, every single person I would try and kill on the map, until I got caught, and then I would just shoot everybody else. And I used to just play that game, level, over and over and over and over. Like, I loved it. Like, all of the other ones were good and stuff and whatever, sure. But the suburbs one, that is what I was all about. Super fun game. Then there is Star Wars, the Lego Star Wars game. I remember liking this. This was one of the early Lego games. So surely you've played a Lego game if you're watching this, because who hasn't played a Lego game at this point? Then there is FIFA 2001. Does this make you feel old? I don't know who the hell that guy is on the front cover, but do you like that I got this 25% off? 25% off of $40. What's that? 30 bucks? 30 bucks. Quarter off of, yeah, 30 bucks. I got this for 30 bucks. I'm good at math. Yeah, I don't know. This was the only FIFA game I ever had, apart from, I have one on PS4, I think 2014 or something. Yeah, I remember I used to like to play as Arsenal. They had the highest stats. They were the best team on the game. And I used to verse some other team who had the lowest stats. And I would just kick their ass. I would like do like 30-0. And for some reason that entertained me. I also really liked to challenge myself, except I would still be the best team versus the worst team. And I would give the ball to the goalkeeper. And I would run as the goalkeeper all the way across the field to shoot goals as the goalkeeper. And for some reason, I found that so funny. I also found it so funny to just tackle people all the time, like the harder tackle. And I would get red cards and shit all the time. Just the dumb fun shit that we have with games, you know? That's the kind of gamer that I was. I was the kind of gamer where I would try and figure out how the game works, and then I would try and destroy that. I would try and fuck it up however I could. Anyway, then there's iNinja. To be honest, I don't know why I kept this one, because I don't have super fond memories of this one. I remember it being alright. I'm pretty sure I even finished it. Maybe. But I don't know. It's fine. Then there is Peter Jackson's King Kong. This one, I believe Guillermo del Toro actually worked on with Peter Jackson. I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, you don't play as King Kong a lot in this game. It's actually more of a first-person game where you're going across Skull Island. And I remember it actually being pretty damn cool. I remember it didn't tell you how many bullets you had. You had to kind of keep checking, like manually. And that was kind of interesting. It kind of made things a bit more intense and stuff. And yeah, you didn't have a lot of ammo to begin with either. So a lot of the time you had like just this stick. You'd have a stick and you were attacking dinosaurs with a stick. I remember it being pretty impressive graphically and all that kind of stuff back in 2005. Apparently I got this for $100 too, based on that sticker right there. Jesus Christ. Video games still are too expensive. And apparently they're going to be more expensive soon. Or something. I don't know. Alright, now we're getting closer to the end. Sorry this is going for so long. To me, because I have to edit this. The Tony Hawk's games. So Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, which was great. So good. But this was the one that really made my day back in the day. Grand Theft Auto. Why did I say Grand Theft Auto? Tony Hawk's! Tony Hawk's Underground. This is just the best Tony Hawk's game that has ever existed. The customization is awesome. The music is awesome. This is probably the video game with the best music ever, to be honest. Rivaled maybe with Driven to Destruction and a couple others. But this introduced me to a bunch of like punk bands and stuff. And obviously the arcadey skateboarding and shit that plays exactly the same almost in this last year's what was it called? Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 Remake or whatever it was called. So we all know the gameplay and stuff, but this one, you could get off your board. You could do all these different sorts of things and everything. There were a lot of sort of optional things. You could drive cars in some of the levels for some reason, which seems super unnecessary, but I guess it was a cool addition for them to have. And just the levels in this, like the New York level alone was so good in this game. It was set out perfectly, where there were so many different options for lines and combos and shit that you could do. It was just so it was so well put together. This whole game was so good. And the story, this was like the first kind of, four sort of had a narrative, not really, but you went to people and they were like, hey, my grandma's gonna fall off of that building or something. Can you go grind these things so that she can have superpowers and be alright? That was basically what Grand Theft... Why do I keep saying Grand Theft Auto? That was basically what Tony Hawk's 4 did. Anyway, but Tony Hawk's Underground kind of introduced this entire narrative and stuff, and I remember thinking that it was pretty in-depth back in the day. Now, it's pretty silly and shallow looking at it in retrospect. I've watched some reviews of this and stuff in the past month or so, maybe. And it's pretty silly, you know. It's not the best story ever, but and however old I was playing this game for the first time, it meant a lot. And I remember really fucking hating the guy Eric Sparrow because he betrayed you and he took your recording of your sick jump where you go and you ollie over the helicopter or something and you do a McTwist, and he steals that footage. Number one villain of all time, Eric Sparrow. Fuck that guy. You gotta go pro. Anyway, and then there is Tony Hawk's Underground 2, which a lot of people think was disappointing from after the first Underground. I like it quite a lot. The story, not as good. It's kind of this weird Tony Hawk / Jackass game. Bam Margera is in it with a bunch of the Jackass people and stuff as well. And yeah, I don't know, there's some elements to that which kind of, this one kind of jumps the shark in terms of being a bit too silly. It goes a bit over the top in some ways, but I remember liking it quite a lot still. The gameplay is like exactly the same as Underground 1. The levels are pretty much just as well put together. Plus Australia is in this one. Sydney though, of course. If Australia is ever featured in a game or anything, it's always Sydney. It's always Sydney. That's the only part of Australia anybody else in the world knows. Come on, let's have a Grand Theft Auto game set in Melbourne. I would love that. That would be so fucking cool. I've always wanted that since I was a kid. Why can't we get that? Anyway, this was good. I don't know. Screw the haters. I like that game. Then, Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Yeah, I don't know. Better just not say too much about that one. That one just kind of... It's okay, I guess. That was really where Tony Hawk started to die. Not the man, the game series. Anyway, but bonus round, the first original Tony Hawk's skateboarding, not Pro Skater. For some reason in Australia, we called the first one Tony Hawk's Skateboarding. Why? Did we not know what Pro Skater meant? I don't know. But yeah, this is my PlayStation 1 copy of the game, and this is pretty much what introduced me to video games, really. This would have been one of the first that I played on PlayStation, and oh boy, did it mean a lot to me back in the day, and does it mean a lot to me now. So it was really cool returning to it in that remastered version that came out last year. Alright, last few here. There is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, based on the 2003 cartoon version TV show of Ninja Turtles. And this is awesome. This is so damn good. It's kind of like Shaolin Monks, where it's kind of like this weird semi-3D game where you're just kind of bashing a bunch of goons and stuff. What are they called? I forgot what that genre of games is called. Then we are at, finally, the last few games, which are the Crash Bandicoot games. So, firstly, I've got Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, which a lot of people actually hate. A lot of people think this game sucks. I think it's alright, to be honest. Maybe I'm just a sucker for Crash Bandicoot, but if that were true, I would have liked Crash Bandicoot 4, which I didn't, because it was too fucking hard. Apparently, I am a dumb boy with my hands who can't control anything, because that game just frustrates me. I can't do it. I can't beat it. I gave up. I gave up. Anyway, so then there is Crash Twinsani, another game that people don't love, but I do. I absolutely love this game, and this is one of my favorites of the entire franchise. It was just really cool with all the different, like, it was really creative, all the different stuff that you could do with Crash and Neo Cortex kind of connecting, doing teamwork and stuff. Plus they hate each other. Like, Neo Cortex is this evil asshole who doesn't want to be there and stuff, and Crash Bandicoot's just like this dumb, nice idiot. It was just cartoony, it was fun, the music is awesome in this, very cartoony and annoying and repetitive, but pretty awesome, like really melodic, mellow, what's the word? How do you pronounce that word? Anyway, fucking whatever, it was cool. It was just like all this music that was made of like, I'm pretty sure it was all a cappella music where they were like doing it with their voices and stuff, and it was just a bunch of like, ooh, 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 and that's basically the soundtrack of Crash Twinsani. But like, it was super catchy and really cool. But this one was an open world game as well, which was crazy for Crash Bandicoot. How cool is that? That's awesome. And it was like this big open world. Apparently it wasn't fully finished. There were a few kind of giveaways with that, but it's damn cool still. I reckon this is a really well put together game. I reckon it's super fun. It was really cartoony and funny, and get fucked if you don't like it. Then there is Crash Tag Team Racing, which is another one that people don't like for some reason. I absolutely love all of these games, to be honest. This one was kind of like this open world thing too, set in this theme park, and it had platforming elements, it had these driving elements where you could clash your cars together and stuff. And I don't know, it was just cool as hell. I actually almost like the platforming more in this, where you're going through like this weird theme park and stuff, but you could play as like any character that you wanted when you were doing the driving and all that, and there were heaps of costumes. There was like this cool little mini game thing where Crash Bandicoot would like, you'd jump off a cliff or something and he'd die in some cinematic way, like they'd have this kind of CGI cutscene of him dying in a really cartoony, dumb way, and you had to like collect all the different deaths, which is super dark for a kid's game in retrospect. But I remember thinking that was so funny. It was like, you stand in front of a cannonball or something and it goes through his chest and there's a big hole in his chest and it's like, ugh, and falls. And man, childish, but hey, I was a kid when I played it and I loved it, so whatever. Then there were these are the last ones, another little bonus round of PlayStation 1 games. There is Crash Team Racing, Crash Bandicoot 3, Warped, and Crash Bash. Crash Bandicoot 3 is probably the best one. I said Crash Twinsani is, but that was a lie. I lied to you. Crash Bandicoot 3 is the best one. But these are all pretty good. Team Racing is good as well. You know, it was very much a rip-off of Mario Kart, but it did it really well, if you ask me. I mean, just because I'm a Crash Bandicoot fan and not really, like, I didn't really have Nintendo games and stuff that much. Like, I don't really care about Nintendo, so I don't know. Crash Team Racing was my version of Mario Kart, really. Then Crash Bash was just this weird mini-game. Like, everything in it was just a mini-game. And it was kind of weird. Kind of underrated. I kind of like it. And that's all. We've done it. We have talked about my PS2 games. But just give me a second, because these are all the games that I got from my parents' house, that I was storing at my parents' house and annoying them, taking up space. And I've just got a few more PC games. They were in the same big tub that I took from my parents, so fuck it, let's go through those as well. Oh, it's literally only 2, apparently. I thought there were more than that. Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. This was another game like Stuntman that I played with my entire family, and yeah, I absolutely love this game. Please play it if you've never played it. I think you can find it. I think you can get this maybe on Steam or something? I don't know. I'm making that up. Maybe that's not true. Then there is Outlaws, which I played recently. I did get this one on Steam. I played recently. This is a game from like 95 or 94 or something. And guess what, man? 97, sorry. Guess what, though? This is still badass. This is such a good shooting game. This is basically the original Red Dead Revolver, really. And it's cool as hell. I played this with my best friend, Kirk. Hi, Kirk, if you're watching. Hi. And it's fucking awesome. Yeah, it's cool. That's all I have to say. Old game, underappreciated. And just by the way, as I'm going through these and saying all this stuff out loud, I might do some individual reviews for some of these one day. Outlaws in particular, because I did play it sort of recently. I guess it's not that recent now. It was last year and stuff, but yeah, and it's still cool. So yeah, I might do some. I never really talk about games, but I might do some individual reviews. That same, just by the way, if you're a subscriber to me and stuff and you want to know, I've been thinking that I might do some individual reviews of some older movies just from my collection and stuff. Like I've talked about movies, I mean not games. I've talked about movies that I've really liked in videos where I'm talking about like I don't know. Like I did a video over Halloween where I was talking about movies, horror movies that I was nostalgic for. And I covered a bunch of things like P2 and the Wrong Turn franchise and some stuff like that. But maybe I should do like a review of Wrong Turn or something sometime. Maybe I should do a review of Happy Death Day sometime because I love those movies. Maybe I, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I talk about movies in videos, but I don't always make it that much of like the spotlight, if that makes sense. Like, I think that maybe I should do some videos where the thumbnail is talking about these underrated movies so that people see them and they're like, oh, cool, he's talking about that movie, or what's that? Oh, and then they find out what that is. And it's like, I don't know, it just might give some spotlight to some more, under-known, like lesser-known films. And possibly games if I decide to do that at some point. So, I don't know. Yeah, look forward to that at some point if I do decide to do that. But in the meantime, thank you for watching and all that stuff. Super appreciate it. And do the things, please. All the things that the YouTubers say, do them. And also, in the meantime, before I post another video, watch every single one of my videos and like it and comment on it and send it to 20 people. It's a chain mail thing. If you don't send every video of mine to 20 different people, you will be cursed with bad luck. And yeah. Oh no.